Welcome back to some new r/malicious compliance stories, where people comply to the letter, but not the spirit of a request. I hope you had a great day. Thanks for all the likes and comments on the last video. And now let's start with the first story. It's called Track Everything. A few years ago I worked at a mid-sized company where the atmosphere was, let's just say, less than ideal. The manager had this growing suspicion that people were looking for an opportunity to leave. He believed morale was low and the team was barely holding it together. While I'm not sure where he got that idea, he decided to impose stricter controls to monitor productivity. One day he introduced a new rule. Every task, every email, every conversation must be logged. No exceptions. His reasoning? I need to know exactly what you are doing and make sure nothing falls through the cracks. Here's the problem. My team was already working at full capacity, juggling multiple tasks every day. Suddenly we were being told to log everything. Every email, every report, every meeting. Even a quick conversation had to be documented. I tried explaining how counterproductive this was, but his response was always the same. I need to make sure you are on task. It became clear he didn't trust us to do our jobs. So he created this system where every move had to be tracked and validated. Since I didn't see a way out of it, I decided to comply, but not without a little twist. I started logging everything, and I mean everything. Sending a simple email, logged. A 10-minute meeting to touch base, logged. Even the time I spent thinking about how to word an email got logged, because technically it was part of the task, right? To make it even more fun, I made my logs as detailed as possible. I meticulously documented every single action, no matter how small. The result was chaos. The logs became overwhelming and they were wasting everyone's time. The manager was drowning in unnecessary details and asking questions about tasks that didn't matter. Meanwhile, I could barely keep up with my actual work because I was too busy logging everything. Then, one day, the manager finally asked, "Why is everything taking so long?" My response was simple. "You asked for everything to be logged." He didn't like hearing that, but eventually he realized the system was making us less productive. We were told to just log what's necessary. The policy was quietly dropped, and things slowly went back to normal. The next story is called Bank Policy. Back in the early 2000s, I was saving all my spare change in one of those big plastic water jugs you'd usually see on water dispensers. I had it about 60% full and decided it was time to cash it in to make ends meet. So I hauled this heavy jug into my local bank. Now, a few years prior, I learned the hard way that this particular bank didn't accept pre-rolled coins. They explained they couldn't verify what was in the rolls and would have to open every single one anyway. It made sense, but it was frustrating at the time, because I had spent so much effort rolling those coins. So this time I left them all loose in the jug. I also knew the bank had one of those coin counting machines. I had seen them using it before, and it made quick work of loose coins. Fast forward to the day, and there I was, waiting in line with my jug of loose change. It probably weighed 40 to 50 pounds. When my turn came, I dragged the jug up to the counter and told the teller I wanted to cash it in. That's when they informed me they'd charge a 10% fee to count the coins. I glanced over to a small room nearby and sure enough saw the coin counting machine sitting right there. I said, "You are not even counting it yourself. You are just going to pour it into that machine." The teller replied, "It's just our policy, sir." I pushed back a little. "You are my bank. Isn't this supposed to be a service you provide?" The answer was, "We charge the same rate for everyone." So I asked how much change they'd take without charging a fee, and they told me $50. Determined to avoid the fee, I knelt down, put a couple of handfuls of coins onto the counter and let the teller count them. After a while, she handed me about $22 and some change. I put it in my wallet, grabbed my jug and went to the back of the line. When it was my turn again, I repeated the process. Another few handfuls of coins on the counter. By now, the teller was visibly frustrated. After a couple more rounds of this, she gave in. She told me to bring the jug to the swinging door at the end of the counter. With the help of another teller, they started pouring the coins into the counting machine. I made sure to mention that I had a pretty accurate count of how much was in there, so I'd know if anything was off. After about 10 minutes, the machine finished counting, and the total was just a few bucks off from what I had estimated, likely due to a few Canadian coins or some drawn down pennies. The final total was over $1,000 in pocket change. That was the last time I saved coins like that. The last story is called 2 Replacements. I used to work in media intelligence, which is a pretty niche industry in my country. I started as an assistant and learned everything from scratch, as I had switched over from the hospitality industry. I was eager to learn and really interested in the field, since I was trying to break into media at the time. Within 6 months I had gotten really good at my job. I was part of a 3-person team and had an amazing boss and a fantastic colleague, both of whom were veterans in the industry. They taught me so much and really helped me grow. Unfortunately, they both left the company after just a year, because upper management was, let's just say, not great. The company went through 4 leadership changes in 1 year, which stressed the team out. They asked me to leave with them, but being young and eager to prove myself, I decided to stay. That's where things started to go downhill. After my boss and colleague left, I was left to manage our team's responsibilities on my own, covering multiple markets. I was asked to be on call for technical support, with no extra compensation. Frustrated but still determined to prove myself, I agreed. For months I worked 13-hour days and kept asking my manager to hire more people, because the workload was overwhelming. The response was always the same: we don't have the budget. I finally gave up asking and just drowned myself in work. One day, the CEO of the company came to visit and invited me to dinner. He'd grown close to me, since I was the only person who truly understood both the old and new systems the company used. At dinner, he asked me what changes I'd like to see in the company. I started with requesting 2 new hires for my team, but he gave me the same answer as my manager. Then I asked for a promotion and a raise, both of which he declined, saying, "You don't have the necessary experience yet." At this point I was frustrated, but still trying to keep going. After months of working long hours, I needed a break. I had saved almost 3 weeks of PTO and planned to take it. However, my manager threatened to fire me if I took time off, claiming no one else could do my job. Despite the threat, I took my PTO anyway. I came back feeling rested, only to find 2 new faces in the office. Confused, I asked my manager who they were. She told me they were my replacements, and informed me that I was being let go. My notice period was 2 months, and I was expected to train them before I left. Since my manager didn't fully understand how the systems worked, she instructed me to only train the new hires on the legacy systems, saying she'd handle the rest. I followed her instructions to the letter. During my last week, things started to fall apart. My manager realized I had only trained the new hires on the legacy systems, and hadn't given them my detailed notes or tips for running the current system used for daily operations. She called a meeting with the CEO and managing director to confront me. In the meeting, I simply explained that I had done exactly what my manager told me to do. When she denied it, I forwarded the email she had sent me with those exact instructions. The meeting ended pretty quickly after that. After I left the company, I waited for the inevitable call. Sure enough, my manager eventually called, demanding that I come back to work. She even claimed the firing was just a prank. I told her I'd consider returning if they paid me triple my previous wage. Unsurprisingly, they called me crazy and ended the call. It's been 2 months since that call, and according to a friend in another department, my former manager is now completely overwhelmed and neck deep in the chaos I left behind. Thanks for watching the video to the end. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like, comment and subscribe. And if you have time, watch another one of my videos. Also, if you want to support me further, check out the channel membership or Patreon. And now, I hope you have a great day. See you soon. Bye bye.